The fourth episode of Interview with the Vampire dealt with the introduction of Claudia into the world of vampires. She started to get accustomed to the ways of a vampire, and, being young blood, she mostly broke the rules rather than educating herself. She felt rather compassionate towards humans, which Lestat had taught her to avoid. Anyway, we have seen how she enjoyed the warmth of love from a man and what happened to the man later on. Claudia accidentally killed him and asked Lestat to bring him back. Lestat, however, could not do that, and this brings us to the conflict that Interview with the Vampire episode 5 further follows. Spoilers ahead. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We see Claudia getting devastated by the loss of Charlie, the guy she killed unintentionally. Louis thought that Claudia was not coming out of her bed, but the fact was that she was hiding from Louis and Lestat. She started killing random people and burying them somewhere, leaving traces throughout the town. When Lestat confronted her, she told them where she had buried the bodies. Louis and Lestat knew the bodies would be found once there was a flood, because the water would remove the soil, and the bodies would come up and become visible. Their fear turned out to be true as there was rain and 6 bodies that Claudia had buried started showing up. The police started investigating the hotels and the households. They even broke into Louis and Lestat's house. Claudia also brought souvenirs from each of her killings. However, the police failed to find any proof against them. Claudia and Lestat had a spat, and she stormed out of the house. 7 years later, when Louis had completely wasted himself grieving for Claudia's absence, Claudia met with another vampire named Bruce. In the beginning, Bruce seemed friendly, but soon Claudia understood that he was a vicious creature of the night. Louis tried to contact her with their psychic communication, but Claudia had decided to block him from time to time. However, she followed Louis when he went to meet with his sister. Louis's sister abandoned him, and Claudia witnessed that from her hiding. She had now realized her goal. She realized that she was being made a vampire act as the sister that Louis could never have. She came home and asked Louis to leave Lestat and come with her. Lestat became furious and attacked Claudia. Louis tried to stop him, and a huge fight ensued between him and Lestat. Claudia failed to stop the fight and witnessed Lestat flying off with Louis into the sky. There, Lestat asked Louis why he could never love him the way he loved Lestat. Then Lestat left Louis in the middle of the air, following which Louis fell to the ground. However, Louis was not dead yet, but Claudia was furious with rage and wanted to kill Lestat at that moment. Lestat was a very intelligent vampire, but since he met with Louis, it all started to fall apart. His passionate love for Louis made him vulnerable at times, shattering him mostly. The only reason for such a vague situation was that Louis could never reciprocate Lestat's love with the same passion. Louis was not happy being a vampire. In the beginning, he was impressed with the unending power and the magical attributes that come with being a vampire. But as time progressed, he felt disappointed. Louis was rejected by his family and friends. He even felt responsible for the disastrous situation of his own people in the town. However, every bit of guilt was fading away, and in its place, his hate for Lestat grew. Claudia was the only remaining link he had. When Claudia was gone, too, Louis was left with nothing but a void. Yes, he had Lestat, his lover, with him at all times, but he could never stop thinking about Claudia. So, when Claudia came back and offered Louis that he should leave Lestat and come with her, Louis actually considered that a good idea. He had no affection left for Lestat. So, when Lestat sensed that Claudia was aggressively contacting Louis through their psychic abilities, he was furious. As Lestat made both of them vampires, he could not listen to the conversation Claudia and Louis were having through their psychics. He thought that Claudia was manipulating Louis to leave him forever, which may be the truth. So, Lestat attacked Claudia to stop her from manipulating Louis. Lestat chose Louis because he was madly in love with him. He was so very possessive of Louis that he used to follow Louis at times. So, when Claudia was trying to remove Louis from his life, Lestat could not tolerate it. Louis tried to stop him, and they had a huge fight. Lestat was obviously stronger than Louis as he was mostly fed with human blood, while Louis fed himself with random small animals. Lestat wanted to make Claudia believe that she was responsible for the pain that Louis caused. Before her arrival, Louis and Lestat were living peacefully, if not happily. Lestat wanted to set an example for Claudia that if she ever tried to snatch Louis away from him, it wouldn't be a good thing at all. He was obsessed with Louis, but he also knew that Louis never really loved him. A lover's obsession like this can only lead to pain for the other party. They won't let the other person go. Lestat would keep Louis as long as possible, reminding him of the pain he had to go through once Louis had decided to leave him. However, Claudia is very intelligent as well. We can expect Claudia to assist Louis in getting rid of Lestat in the coming days. Thank you for joining us on this journey, and I hope you enjoyed Interview with the Vampire story.